There was a time when the house was filled with music. Every morning, gentle piano notes would echo through the rooms like soft whispers of peace. But now the keys sat untouched. Dust quietly gathered on them, like a blanket hiding memories no one wanted to disturb. In that house lived someone who had once poured their heart into music, a person who used to sit for hours playing melodies that made people stop, close their eyes, and just listen. But all of that changed after a deep loss. Someone very close to them had passed away, someone who had always believed in their music. And after that, everything fell silent. The piano, once a best friend, now felt cold and distant. Each time they walked past it, they'd look away. It hurt too much to even touch the keys. Music didn't feel like healing anymore. It felt like a reminder of what was gone. Life went on, but it didn't feel alive. Days blended into each other. There were moments when the silence felt louder than any sound. The world outside moved fast, but inside, everything felt stuck. Friends tried to help. Some offered advice, some gave space. But no words could reach that quiet space where the pain lived. One rainy evening, while cleaning out an old drawer, they found something unexpected, a small cassette tape. It was old and a little dusty, with a handwritten note on it. The note simply said, "For when you forget who you are." That message hit hard. Their hands trembled a little as they placed the tape into the player. A soft click, and then a voice, familiar, warm, and comforting. It was the voice of the one they had lost, introducing a piano piece, one they had played as a child years ago. Then the music began, gentle, raw, and full of feeling. It wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. But it carried so much love that the room felt different, almost lighter. Tears came without warning. The kind of tears that come when something buried inside finally starts to open up. That melody wasn't just music, it was a message. A reminder. A small spark in the dark. For the first time in months, they walked toward the piano, not to perform, not to impress, just to feel something again. The moment their fingers touched the keys, something shifted. The silence had finally been broken, and that was the beginning of something new. The room was quiet, but this time it didn't feel empty. As the fingers touched the keys again after so long, a soft sound filled the air. It wasn't a song yet, just slow, uncertain notes, but each one felt like a small step forward. The first few minutes were hard. The hands were stiff, the mind unsure, but there was something powerful about hearing the piano speak again. It didn't matter if the notes were perfect. What mattered was that the silence was finally being replaced by sound, real, honest sound. The melody started to take shape, almost on its own. It was gentle, a little sad, but peaceful too. It carried feelings that had no words, just emotions, deep and quiet. There were no cameras, no audience, no stage, just a person reconnecting with a part of themselves that had been lost for a while. Every time a key was pressed, it felt like a small release. A little more weight lifted off the heart. Memories came back, not just the sad ones, but the beautiful ones too. The laughter, the support, the late-night talks, the moments that had once made life feel whole. It was surprising how the music knew what to say, like it had been waiting all along. All those months of silence hadn't been empty after all. They were just building up to this moment, a moment of healing, even if slow. By the end of that session, the feeling was different. The tears still came, but they felt lighter, like they were washing something away. There was still pain, yes, but also a little bit of peace. That night, sleep came a little easier for the first time in months. The next day, the piano was touched again, and again the day after that. Some days it was just 5 minutes. Other days, it turned into hours without even noticing. The melodies became fuller, richer, not perfect, but real enough to bring comfort. Eventually, the idea came to record one of the melodies. Not for the world, not for attention, just to keep it safe. To capture the feeling. With a simple mic and a quiet room, the soft piano notes were recorded. The title was simple too, A Memory of Her. That recording wasn't meant to be shared, but something inside said maybe, just maybe, someone out there needed to hear it too. After recording the melody, there was a long pause. The file just sat there on the desktop, quietly waiting. No editing, no fancy effects, just pure, raw piano. For a few days, it remained untouched. But that soft voice inside kept saying, maybe someone else needs this too. It wasn't about being a musician anymore. It wasn't about proving anything. It was just a simple hope that maybe this small piece of music could comfort someone else the way it had brought a little peace during the hardest days. So one quiet evening, with a little hesitation, the melody was uploaded to a video platform. No big announcement, no name attached, just the title, A Memory of Her. A black screen, soft nature sounds in the background, and that gentle piano. That was it. For a while, nothing happened, just a few views, a few quiet likes. But then something changed. A comment appeared. It said, I don't know who made this, but it made me cry. Thank you. That one sentence felt like a warm light in a dark room. More comments started to come. Strangers from different parts of the world shared how the music helped them sleep, or how it reminded them of someone they had lost. Some said they listened to it while studying, others said it helped calm their anxiety. A few said they hadn't cried in years until they heard it. Reading those words was like breathing fresh air. It was overwhelming, but in a beautiful way. The pain that once felt so heavy had now become something meaningful, something that could reach across miles and bring comfort to people who had never met, but somehow understood. The most touching part was realizing how many people were carrying silent pain, just like that lonely piano had. Everyone had a story. Everyone had a loss, a struggle, a quiet wound they didn't talk about. And somehow, these soft melodies were giving those feelings a safe place to land. It became clear that music didn't have to be loud or perfect to matter. Sometimes, the softest notes are the ones that go the deepest. And even though the heart still carried sadness, it also felt lighter knowing that the music was doing something good in the world. That one simple upload had started something honest, something healing. The response to the melody was unexpected, but deeply moving. Every morning started with checking the comments, not out of habit, but out of connection. Each message felt like a small conversation between hearts. People weren't just listening, they were feeling, and that made all the difference. Some shared short stories about their lives. One person said the music helped them during a panic attack. Another wrote that they played it beside their grandmother's hospital bed. A teenager said it became part of their evening routine, helping them breathe and let go of a day filled with anxiety. It was humbling. These weren't just listeners, they were real people going through real things. And somehow, that one gentle melody had reached them. It didn't fix anything, but it gave them a moment of calm. And sometimes, that's all a person needs to keep going. With a quiet heart and a deep breath, more music was recorded. Not rushed, not forced, just played when the feelings came. Some pieces were full of sadness, others had a touch of hope. A few had the soft glow of peace. Each one was a piece of the soul, captured in sound. They were uploaded slowly, one by one. The titles were always simple, no fancy words, just honest ones. Things like Late Night Rain, or For the Days That Hurt. And somehow, those titles spoke louder than anything complicated ever could. People started coming back. Some would comment every time a new video went up. They'd write things like, I've been waiting for this, or this one felt like it knew what I was feeling. It didn't feel like a channel anymore. It felt like a little space where people could feel safe, even for a few minutes. There was no fame, no rush to go viral. That was never the goal. What mattered was the quiet connection being built through music. No big words, no bright lights, just soft piano, shared honestly. Sometimes late at night, the thought would come, what if the pain had never happened? What if the silence had never come? Would this music ever exist? The answer was unclear, but one thing felt certain: even in sadness, something beautiful had found its way through. And that beauty, once hidden, was now helping others feel seen. The seasons slowly changed, but the music continued. It became a quiet part of the daily routine, waking up, making tea, sitting by the piano, and letting the emotions speak through the keys. Some days, the melodies came easily. Other days, there was just silence, and that was okay. There was no pressure anymore. The music was not for perfection, it was for peace. One evening, while reading through the comments, something unusual appeared. A therapist from another country had written a message. They said they had been using the piano tracks during counseling sessions, especially with patients dealing with anxiety and grief. "Your music helps people open up," the message said. "It gives them space to feel." That single line stayed in the mind for hours. Music that had once come from pain was now helping others heal in ways never imagined. It was quiet, invisible work, but deeply powerful. It was like planting seeds in people's hearts without ever seeing the flowers bloom. But somehow, knowing they would bloom was enough. A few days later, another message arrived. This one from someone who had struggled with sleep for years. They wrote that the melodies had become a part of their bedtime routine. "I don't know why," they said, "but your music feels like someone is holding my hand through the night." Those words brought quiet tears. Not the heavy kind like before, but soft ones. The kind that come when you realize your story, your struggle, is no longer just yours. It has become part of something bigger, a thread in someone else's healing. There were no plans to turn the music into a career. There were no live shows or big promotions. Everything remained simple, just a piano, a mic, and feelings turned into sound. But the heart behind it was growing stronger, more open, less afraid. Some listeners even started sending messages asking how they could learn to play too. A few said they had old keyboards at home and had never touched them before, but now wanted to try. That was the most surprising thing, how pain, when shared gently, could inspire others to create. Music had once been a silent place of sorrow, but now it was becoming a soft bridge, reaching people who needed comfort, reminding them they weren't alone, and slowly turning heavy feelings into something beautiful. The day started to feel lighter, not because everything was fixed, but because something had changed from within. The music had become a quiet friend, one that listened, one that healed, and one that gently reminded that it was okay to feel. By now, the small music channel had slowly grown into a peaceful little corner on the internet. It didn't have flashy thumbnails or loud titles, just soft piano pieces with calm visuals, and a space in the comments where people poured out their hearts. Some came just to listen, others came to let go of something they'd been holding inside. A few began sharing their own art, poems, or stories inspired by the melodies. One person said they started painting again after years. Another said they wrote a letter to someone they had never been able to forgive. People were healing in their own ways, and the music had quietly opened that door. It was never about becoming popular. It was about creating something real, something that mattered. There were no big promises. No, this will change your life messages, just calm notes and honest feelings, and that was enough. The person behind the music still kept their face and name hidden, not because they were scared, but because the music wasn't about them. It was about the listeners. It was about what they felt, what they needed. The music was like a mirror, reflecting whatever emotions someone brought with them. There was something magical in that. The same melody could mean 100 different things to 100 different people. Some heard hope, some heard goodbye, some heard peace, and no one was wrong. Late one night, while sitting at the piano with a candle lit beside it, a new melody began to flow. It was slow, deep, and warm. Not sad, not happy, just full of emotion. It felt like a gentle hug, the kind that says, "I see you, I understand." That melody was uploaded the next morning with the title, "It's Okay to Feel Everything." And just like before, the comments slowly appeared. One said, "This felt like the sound of my heart." Another wrote, I didn't know I needed this today. And in that quiet moment, it became clear. This journey that began in silence had turned into something meaningful, something honest, something that connected strangers through nothing but sound and feeling. The days moved quietly now, but they felt different. There was still sadness sometimes, but it didn't feel so heavy anymore. It had softened, turned into something that could be carried without breaking. The piano was no longer a reminder of loss. It had become a doorway to healing, not just for one person, but for many. The music kept growing, piece by piece. Each new melody was like a small part of a conversation, an invisible exchange between hearts. Some pieces were created during peaceful mornings, others late at night when emotions couldn't be spoken out loud, but every note was real. The most surprising thing was how far the music had traveled. People from different corners of the world had found it. Some played it while journaling. Others used it in meditation or simply to sit in stillness. The music didn't need translation. It spoke directly to the soul in a way words never could. One day, a long message arrived. It was from someone who had been struggling deeply with their mental health. They said they had been close to giving up, feeling like nothing could reach them. But one of the piano videos had stopped them in that moment. They wrote, "I don't know how to explain it, but your music helped me feel something again, and that gave me the strength to stay." That message was read in silence, with tears gently falling. It was humbling, almost unbelievable. What started as an attempt to heal one broken heart had ended up saving another. Not every day was easy. There were still quiet moments of doubt, moments of missing someone who was gone. But there was comfort now too. A quiet strength, a sense that something good had come out of the pain. Looking back, it was clear. This journey had never been about being a musician or becoming known. It was about honesty. About letting feelings move through the fingers, onto the keys, and out into the world, where they could find others in need. The final piece uploaded was called "You're Not Alone." It didn't have a big story behind it. Just simple, soft notes that wrapped around the listener like a warm blanket. The comments, as always, came slowly and softly, but each one carried deep feeling. And in those words, in those sounds, the message was clear. Even in silence, healing can begin. Even in pain, beauty can grow. And even the softest melody can reach the deepest part of someone's heart.